Hi, everybody. This is Jim Cornette, pro wrestling legend, and you're listening to the Book in the Territory Unprofessional Wrestling Podcast.
This is the artist formerly known as Daryl Van Horn, James Mitchell, the Sinister Minister, and I'm here to let you know I would rather slam my cock in a car door than to miss the dulcet tones of Hard Body Harper, my illegitimate son, on Booking the Territory podcast.
Woo, Messi, this is professional wrestler Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie Man. Tell my people, my brothers and sisters, don't you dare miss Booking the Territory. Oh, yeah.
This is a one-man gang. You're listening to Booking the Territory Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of Booking the Territory, the Unprofessional Wrestling Podcast, where today we are covering WCW Saturday Night on TBS from August the 29th, 1992. It's the go-home show before the next Clash of the Champions that we'll review on Patreon. More on that later. If you're listening to this on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Harper really likes that. It makes him happy, and he won't be as angry the next time he's on with us. And we do appreciate it. It helps grow the channel. The algorithms like that type of stuff. Also, post a comment in the video of the show. Tell us what you like, what you hated, what you loved, and all that good stuff. Doc, it's just me and you because we're moving things around so we can have Harper for the Clash, because we got that one coming up, a really big Clash. What's going on? How are you doing?
Doing well. I'm getting better. You know, we've locked in the coach of the future here for the Cowboys. He got the full approval of the owner this week since the last time we spoke. And you got to feel good that you got, continuity going forward in key leadership positions, right?
I just think this season finally killed you.
I think it did too.
This was the break. This was the breaking point.
I'm concerned about my ability to bounce back from this one. I'm not going to lie. Now, that being said, I'm doing pretty good. Overall, I haven't driven by any Burger Kings this week, in the past week. And, going to watch more football this weekend as real teams with real franchises continue playing football.
Yes.
But hey, at least we have a dumb bastard keeping a fat fuck employed. I mean, that's always important.
That guy's won a Super Bowl. So, I mean,
okay.
Maybe it's not him.
So don't count.
Maybe it's not him. You ever thought of that?
Well, that's even more depressing.
Just saying, maybe it's not him.
Well, here's the thing. It's not just him.
Well, it's definitely not him. But I'm not here to talk about those. I'm not. Look, I spoke my piece on the Patreon episode about it, tinyurl.com/Patreon BTT.
New information come out that McCarthy gets to stick around even though all that happened. So anyway, whatever. I'm doing good. If you miss Harper, you don't like Harper, you're down on the fact that we don't have Harper tonight, be a patron. And if you're a patron, you will get to hear Harper with us do the Clash. That's what we've chosen to do. But to do that, we had to move some things around, and we had to make sure that we were vertically and horizontally integrated. You know what I mean?
Whatever you say, pal.
Yeah.
Whatever you say.
Well, we do have a couple of, you call them flips and dives. I would prefer to call them opening match high spots.
All right. That's fair.
Yeah, they're high spots. We're just doing them early and then all the way through. So you had something that you wanted to ask me about something I'm not aware of. So usually I'm springing things on you. Why don't you spring something on me?
Certainly will do so. Real quick, shout out, disrespectfully classy, Marky Blassie, who's dead inside like you right now after the Cowboys debacle a month ago. Mike Childress, Joe Ice, and good old Justin, thank you for your generous support on Patreon each and every month and basically being the sponsors of this show with your big time patronage. And if you want to be like those guys or just be a patron and get the Clash that's coming up tomorrow night, tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. We got some big stuff planned, not only with that one, but we've covered all of the clashes, all of the pay-per-views from WCW through 92 where we're at right now. Plus, you get the WC World Class shows, NWA Power shows, ECW shows as well. All of that available on Patreon, tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. Now, like you said, we got some what you call flips and dives or whatever. So I had told you earlier this week, and we're recording some things kind of far out here. So I had said, based on some things I'd seen on Twitter a couple weeks back with Tony Khan, that I'm at the point where, while I do think Tony Khan is a little off, I think he purposely is trolling on Twitter as a way to put more of a spotlight on AEW. And let me explain. There was some back and forth with him and Bischoff several weeks back, and then there was
heel versus heel activity. I get you.
Right. And then him and, I think, Jinder Mahal may have had an exchange or two, if my memory is correct. But I told you that, and here's the thing. I try not to occupy my time with AEW, but you got people like the little fella, and then you got people who email me, and I'm like, we don't really watch this stuff for a reason, so we don't want to talk about it. But when I'm emailed and tagged in Twitter on various things, I'm like, okay, well, let me at least mention it, because then I feel like, okay, if a listener is what's your thoughts on this, I'm gonna mention it. And I think he's trolling. I think he being Tony Khan, when he gets all in his feelings on Twitter, while I think he is a little off, because if you listen to those press scrums, everything's great with his promotion. I think he's trolling. I think first off, he knows how to punch up because he's punching up to the WWE. And secondly, not only do I think he's punching up, but he realizes, well, any publicity is good publicity. So it's kind of like Outlaw Mud Show activity on Twitter from him to hopefully get people to watch his product. Because if he goes at the big dogs, being WWE, and can get any type of attention from them, which Jinder gave him, unfortunately, and Eric doesn't work for WWE, Eric Bischoff doesn't, but he gave him the attention he was looking for too, then you're like, okay, I've trolled them, I've got their attention, these people that other people follow. Any publicity that I can put on this Twitter machine or X, whatever piss they're calling it now, it's like, in his eyes, it's something, so he can remain relevant. And I think it's like a strategy, albeit a bad one. I told you this because when I've said I think it's a strategy, you're like, well, that's dumb. I said, I didn't say it was a good strategy. I just think it's a strategy of his, that he does this, and he, in his mind, it's a way to get clicks and get people to see what's going on in AEW. Now, it's not a good strategy, but it's a strategy nonetheless. And I don't think you care, one, or maybe you do, and you're like, yeah, that's just dumb. But I think he's being a troll. I think at this point, he's being a troll. Your thoughts?
It's possible. I have another thought that I want to bring up. But first of all, let me say, look. So tonight's a night of the week that I don't even know if AEW's on.
It's
but
not.
If it is, it's not?
No, it's on Wednesdays.
Okay. But I have a free night all of a sudden, and I would swing by and try to watch it, some of it. And invariably, every time I do that, which isn't very often, and it's just I'm not in front of it a lot. But when I am, I'm bored out of my mind. Over the holidays, LaWanda was in town with her husband, and we watched it one night with everybody in the room drinking beer, and she goes, I thought that wrestlers used to be bigger than that. That's somebody who hasn't watched wrestling since the last time she watched wrestling with me, and I can't tell you when that was. It's been
the late 90s?
Probably.
Yeah. 25 years.
So that's bad. It's just not very good. And I would prefer it be good because I would prefer more competition. I would prefer more products that people who have more free time, the people who are single out there listening to us, would have good shit to watch. I mean, I've said this more times than not on this program. Good wrestling is way better than bad wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't like when you hear me give a C for a program we did, I did not have fun watching it. But hopefully what you hear when we get it, like a couple of weeks ago, we had an A or an A plus show. We got excited about that shit. We were trying to put people over. We're trying to give out these flowers. And good wrestling still gets us excited. I'm excited because it's, in real time. This is Rumble this weekend. I expect the worldwide leader to start putting out their best product and moving towards Mania, and that's where I'm going to put my limited time. But here's what I think could be happening with Tony, and I certainly agree that your explanation is plausible. Let me offer you an alternate one.
Okay.
Tony's what, 41, 42, maybe?
Yeah, he's not this little boy that I think some people try to make him out to be.
Right. So I think, is it possible, like, he's the old guy at the club trying to do social media stuff, and it doesn't land well because he's older than he thinks he is, and he's not as hip and cool as he thinks he is. And so he doesn't understand his own place in the world. And as a result, it comes off really weird because most people expect to see the leader of a company with that much money behind it and that kind of, position on network TV to not comport themselves in a manner that would be so ridiculously childish.
I mean, that's possible, but
it would be like if you and I went to the club tonight and started, doing the Running Man when Little Yachty's newest hit pops loose. You know what I'm saying?
That's a possibility, your assessment, but I just think he's trolling. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he realizes, I think he thinks any eyes on the product is good eyes. And I will give him this credit. As much as I hate the term digital platforms, there was a certain idiot in the wrestling industry that said that like close to 10 years ago. And he actually ended up being kind of right. Like you have to have a presence on these social platforms and digital platforms to even be taken serious nowadays. The thing is, his organization, and I hate saying this, I legitimately hate making this statement. I haven't watched AEW in a while, so somebody's going to say, well, you don't even watch it. You're right. They ran me off. They completely ran me off. I have not even watched it on a DVR in months. It's been months and months, at least 6 months, if not more. I hate that because there's people I like there. There's people there that listen to this show.
Yeah. And we know who you are and you know who we are. And just know, we're glad that you're getting a paycheck from this thing, from this business, this thing of ours. We want that to continue, and we want you to be part of building that promotion up.
So I hate, as you say that, I hate bashing them and saying I don't watch it because I feel like, I should at least make an attempt to support the people that I do like there, because there are more than a few. They have some talent. They also have some people that should not be on the television. Another reason is I don't watch it because I don't want to be like
the big company too. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't want to be like Cornette. We've had this discussion. I don't want to be hate watching stuff either. So, but I say that to say like I just think he's trolling, man. I think this is his like goal to get people to watch, to get more eyes on it. If he does these on the socials and if he punches up at the bigger organization, I think it's just troll tactics. And he's a billionaire. Well, his dad is. And he's got a lot of money, so he can act like an idiot on there and not really have repercussions, and he can keep funding this thing till Lord knows how long. But I just think he's trolling. I think that's his strategy. I think it's a dumb strategy. I kind of loathe people that troll nonstop because it's like, man, you got a lot of time on your hands. I mean, I feel bad when I put like one negative post on Twitter. I'm like, all right, I got to step away from this for a while because I just don't like being that negative. I think that festers in your life, and then you turn into this, the negative person who's constantly posting negativity. So it's a bad strategy, but I think that's his strategy. I don't get it. But hey, he's got millions of dollars because his daddy was rich or is rich, and I don't have that luxury. So anyway,
wouldn't that be great?
So that closes that. I just wanted to mention that we were talking offline and whatnot. You, any other thoughts on Tony Khan before we transition to this topic that you got too? That's more of a, I would say more modern, but by the time this airs, it'll be about 3 to 4 weeks old.
Well, I got another topic that's not going to be very fresh by the time we get there.
Proceed.
Well, apparently on Australian TV recently, they had Grayson Waller and LA Knight out there, and it was one of those daily talk show kind of things where there's a couple people that have a good smile and they don't really talk about much, but they have people, the WWE's in town. So they're sitting there on the set, and the lady host turns to LA Knight and go, "Would you do your finishing move?" And he's like, "On you?"
Yeah.
And he's like, he was fed up from Jump Street and looked over at Grayson Waller. He's like, "You want to handle this?" And one of their cameramen or production guys starts egging him on and doing the I don't know, like he's going to box him. And Grayson Waller got upset and said, "If I come over there, you're in trouble." And I think the male host then sensed that it was going to escalate beyond his liking, and he went and got between him. That works for the station away. I had a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
How real was this in your wrestling mind?
I don't know. It's 50-50 probability that it was real, but not. I don't know. It was weird. It was stupid. It was really dumb. Let's work off the assumption that it was real. Okay. First.
Fair enough.
Okay. If that was real, it was dumb. If you want to know what I would have done if I was Grayson Waller when that guy started squaring up, because he's across a coffee. Grayson Waller's on the couch. This guy's on the other side, of a coffee table type thing from him. He's away from him, and Grayson Waller stands up and he's like, "Oh, you want me to come over there?" Because if I come over there, he shouldn't even did that, man. He should have just been like, "Look, dude, you over there acting an ass. If you really want to do something, I'm going to give you the first shot, walk your stupid ass over here, pop the piss out of me, and if I fucking get up, I'm going to knock you on your ass." And that should have been the end of it. Because at that point, he's giving him the opportunity to get the first lick. So I'm just defending myself at that point. The fact that he stood up and he's like, "You want me to walk over there? You want me to walk over there?" That's just dumb. Man, if anybody does that to you and you're a wrestler, let them walk over to you and do something. Let them hit you first. That way, when you beat the hell out of them, I'm going to assume you're going to beat the hell out of them, because if you don't, that's another issue. Then you can just, I was defending myself. What do you want me to do? Just stand there and take it? He shouldn't have got up. That's why I thought it was dumb. I was like, if this is real, that's dumb. Now, if it was fake, it's still dumb. It's dumb no matter if it was a setup or not. That answer the question?
LA Knight was awesome. He
was chuckling.
I'm getting the hell out of in between this.
Yeah.
That's a veteran move right there. And it made me wonder if he was in on it and they were setting Grayson Waller up.
It could have. It was weird. That it was just really weird and odd. I'm like watching it, and my first response to you was, "This is dumb." And I was like, "What's happening here? Is this supposed to be real?" I don't know, man. But hey, maybe they set it up like that because, they're trying to put eyes on this PLE, and I don't know. It just seemed really dumb.
Well, and as much as you might want Grayson Waller and LA Knight to respond like Harley would have, they can't have that.
That's why I said what I said. You can't do what these guys would have did 40 years ago. You couldn't have did that 20 years ago. I mean, look what happened with Dr. D. Like, I mean, you just can't do that anymore. You can't even come close to doing that anymore. I mean, I'll say this, even if that camera guy who gets off the camera and starts squaring up like he's going to do something. And when I say squaring up, he's still a good 8 feet from him as he's squaring up. Like, even if that guy comes over and just punches Waller while he's sitting down, I guarantee you, if Waller defends himself and really beats the guy up and gets a couple of good shots in, we live in a society nowadays where that guy's still going to cry like a victim. So, I mean, I'm saying make sure they get the first hit and that it's on camera, and make sure you clearly say, look, you little idiot, back your little ass off unless you really want to do something and be stupid and come over and hit me. But if you hit me, you better drop me, because if you don't, I'm going to defend myself. Like, that's all I can think of, because, again, nowadays, if he hits Waller and Waller fights back and hurts him, Waller might still be in trouble. Like, right. That's the society we live in. People are tough and they want to play the victim when they throw the first blow. Nah, that's not how it works. You do that to somebody and you get dealt with, you ain't no victim no more. You were the aggressor. So
who's the current day wrestler that guy would have been in trouble no matter what? Because remember when Bader was over here throwing in Iraq, but I'm like, yeah, who's the guy on the current roster now that, job be damned, would have acted before anything else and whooped that dude?
I don't really like his stuff these days, but okay. So when you say would have whooped that dude, yeah, I'm gonna work off the assumption that dude's throwing the first punch.
Okay.
I don't know if any wrestler nowadays in the major companies are dumb enough to get up and throw the first punch, because like they just know, especially in WWE, like I would think they're trained to know you don't let people egg you on. I mean, we've seen people at live events like jump on Seth Rollins a couple years ago and he didn't do anything. I mean, can you imagine that happened in the old days? I don't like Moxley, but I can see if somebody came at him for real, he would fight back and might do a little damage to someone in that type of instance. I definitely think Brock would not.
Brock was on my list.
But Brock would let you know. I mean, Brock would toss that dude. He wouldn't even have to punch him. Yeah. You know, he just would push him.
I'll tell you, the other one that came to my mind was Samoa Joe.
I could see that. I mean, he's deceased, but I could see Jay Briscoe laughing at him and just
boy
slapping him. Like that dude would punch Jay and Jay would like just take it and then look and go, "Are you sure you really wanted to do that?" And then cut some promo before he smashes him.
Well, it's always interesting when wrestling gets a little bit somewhat serious in those places outside the bubble. So I wanted to get your opinion, because it didn't feel real, but I don't know that it can feel real anymore like that. So I just, you've got, your radar is always up for a work. So I just wanted to see what you thought on that.
It just seems so phony the way the guy, I don't even remember him. He just like pops up out of nowhere. That the guy who starts like doing the boxing move, like he's squaring up, and he's like 8 feet from him. And Waller's like, "Oh, you think this is funny?" And then he stands up, and the guy's still squaring up and smiling, and it just seemed really like odd. That's why I was like, this is dumb. Because then, you're right. I'm always the one who's like, this is a work. This is dumb. What are they doing? Like my radar, you're right. It's 100% always up. And that's what got me. I'm like, this is dumb. What are we doing here? Is this real? Because if it's real, it's dumb. And if it's not real, it's just as dumb.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And we've talked about it for 10 minutes.
Let's talk about some old wrestling that's not dumb.
Let me share my screen first with you.
Okay. Well, today we're going to be talking about August 29th. This is the go-home show for Clash number 20.
First.
Wait, what?
Okay. What's the date again?
August 29th.
That's right. 1992.
1992, the go-home show for Clash, where we're going to have the 20th anniversary of wrestling on TBS. So we're going to have some legends and superstars joining us at the Clash, along with Hardbody Harper. We got a short episode here tonight, 35 minutes. So apparently the Braves were off kicking somebody's ass that night. But it's a full show, and maybe you'd like to get us going here.
Yeah, so this week's episode was taped August 24th, 1992 at Center Stage. It's the first half of the taping from that day. As we are coming into the episode, we do see a clip from the Omni with Jake and Dustin Rhodes. And then also, Donruss baseball
Donruss
cards
bro.
is a sponsor. And I just had to mention that because we mentioned the sponsor last week. So I thought that was kind of cool. Then Jim Ross and Watts welcome us in. And since this is such a short episode, we're going to play the audio from it because there's a couple of pieces of audio in this episode that one of them is a little longer than some of them are a little long, but there's not much here to really discuss. So we're going to make sure we cover this event totally since we've only got 35 minutes of TV time review. Let's go to Jim Ross and Bill Watts in the opening of the show. Here it is.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to TBS and WCW Saturday Night. Jim Ross and Cowboy Bill Watts with you. Fans, we've got an outstanding broadcast. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat will take on the Z-Man, plus a very special interview conducted by Cactus Jack with Jake the Snake Roberts. But Bill, there's been a lot of talk in recent days regarding the knee injury to the light heavyweight champion of the world, Brad Armstrong, who is scheduled this Wednesday night to defend the title against Flying Brian. What is the update on that situation?
Well, I just talked to Brad, and of course he wants to go so bad. And it's been 5 weeks. And by stipulation, if a guy doesn't defend his title in 30 days, he's stripped of the title and you hold a tournament. But we've gone a step further because of how earnest he is and how hard he's working in rehabilitation. He says he'll be ready to go on the Clash, Jim, and he's an important championship match on that, and we want him there. But if he can't go at that point, of course, then we'd have to stick the rule in and we'd have to hold a tournament at a later date. But at this point, Brad says he'll be there.
Bill, I know you're looking forward because the Clash of Champions celebrating 20 years of wrestling here on TBS. We're going to have a lot of great vintage footage I know you're going to be a part of.
Well, I was very fortunate to be the starting part of it, and when I wrestled the first time on TBS and when Ted Turner was the young giant just starting out and shocking the whole world with his concepts and his ideas, and of course Dusty Rhodes, Thunderbolt Patterson, Mr. Wrestling 1, Mr. Wrestling 2, all the great ones. So it's sure a pleasure to be a part of reestablishing that fabulous tradition.
And fans, we're glad you're with us here today. Let's go up to our good friend Rhubarb Jones for our first event.
Would you say what the F for?
So he's Mr. Law and Order, but he lets the babyface go on the 30 days. And later he's going to let another babyface go on something. Come on.
Bill Watts, the hypocrite.
Who would have thought?
I'm telling you, man, he makes stuff as he goes. I told you that for a long time. I look, Mil Mascaras comes in the Mid-South. Top rope rules in effect in Mid-South. Mascaras comes in the Mid-South, and I guess Mascaras was like, nah, I'm coming off the top rope. And Bill's like, he's not leaping, he's falling onto his opponent. Bro, these old boomers and bookers make it up as they go, bruh. Whatever narrative they want, they will fit it. And that's what you heard right there. Although that wasn't that bad, but I hear you.
That's the bullshit that gets you pictures of white Jesus. Like he's born in like Iowa or something.
Okay. Did you hear? Go ahead.
And I don't understand why you have to come out there and continue to talk about reestablishing things. Just not everybody knows how broken the company is from sitting in the stands.
And at this point, it's not like this is 2 weeks into his tenure. Like at this point, you could just, just go with it. Like go with, we're 7 weeks in it by now. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we're well into his tenure in terms of early tenure. I mean, we're weeks into it. So, you've established yourself as the no nonsense guy. We've talked about it on this show. You're right. Just go with it. No need to continue to be the Mr. Law and Order dude. But that's Bill Watts. That's Bill Watts. That's the part that we don't like. We like things, but then there's parts we don't like, which is this stuff where it's like, man, you just gotta let it. You just gotta let it breathe. You just gotta let it go. You don't have to constantly remind us you're the tyrant. And that's the part that just drives me up a wall. But I will tell you this. He mentioned Thunderbolt Patterson, and old boy Ducky Bozard is out there blasting a Jaworski into the ceiling when he heard that name.
Quack, quack, quack.
Yeah. Ducky heard that. This is going off. All right. Any other thoughts on what Watts said right there about Brad and, he may have to hold a tournament for the title if Brad can't go? Any other thoughts?
No.
Yeah, we're leading up to the celebration at the Clash. The opening match of the show is Sting and Nikita versus Pat Rose and Rick Thames, I think it was. Lots of talk about the 8-man elimination tag match at the Clash coming up this Wednesday night on TBS, which you can hear us review on our Patreon at tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. Doc, let me go to you. We'll get 35 minutes to fill, so things are moving fast here. Your thoughts on the match, if any?
It's a tagline. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This looks thrown together except for the fact that we're going to have a Survivor Series match at the Clash, so I guess it's not.
Stinger splash, and then Sting tags in Koloff and hits Thames, and he hits the sickle, the Russian sickle, the Lithuanian sickle. I don't know what it's called now, but Sting and obviously Nikita win. No surprise there.
I got a question for you. At 4:35, Did Sting almost kill that man, or did Sting save his life?
Well, let's see. I just rewound back to it.
Here it is.
He's about to pile drive him. Oh, geez, yes. I wonder if that guy thought Sting was about to pile drive him?
Or powerbomb him?
No, because I don't know what that guy thought. Sting just snatches him and picks him up, and Sting's a strong man, obviously.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he knew what was coming. Like, at first, it looked like he thought a pile driver was coming. Then he looked like he thought a power bomb was coming. And Sting just kind of holds him up and is like, "No, you're just coming with me." And he slams him into the ring post. So that was odd looking, though. It definitely didn't look right.
Is that the normal mat, or do we have a different mat covering tonight?
That mat looks very clean.
Okay.
Like it might be new.
Okay. I thought something looked different. I couldn't understand what.
It kind of looks brighter.
Okay.
But I wondered if it was just a new canvas or not.
Okay, that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to Nikita and Sting as they head over to the interview area.
Gentlemen, don't forget this Wednesday night live in prime time right here on TBS. 8-man elimination tag team match. Sting, Koloff, and the Steiners. And what a challenge you gentlemen have ahead of you.
Talk about the Steiner brothers. They're a couple of caged animals. Can you imagine those two and these two right here on maybe 1, 2, or 3 of you bad boys? And Jake, let me just talk to you. You were talking about drinking that fine bottle of wine and having that nice meal, and how after you finished you just wanted more. Well, I want to put you in that same category because I want more of you. To put it in simpler terms, I'm going to kick the living snake out of you.
Oh, tag team elimination! Can you imagine Jim Ross if it was Sting and Nikita and the Steiners with only Ravishing Rick Rude left? Or maybe Stinger, you and I against, say, Jake the Snake 2-on-1. What kind of fun we could have. Well, I'll say this to you guys. I've got a lot of respect for you, and I know the Stinger does too, but personally, I don't care about any of you. Come the Clash September 2nd, it's gonna be an interesting night.
Fans and live in prime time this Wednesday night, 8:05 Eastern. We'll be back with more on WCW Saturday Night right after this.
All right, so Sting tells Jake, "I'm going to kick the living snake out of you."
I like that.
That's pretty good, huh?
And he said, "I bet Jake wants more," when he talked about the wine. This had the potential to be a freaking disaster, and it was actually pretty good. I thought Nikita was good. I don't care about any of you.
You know why it was good?
It was short.
Minute and 15 seconds between the two of them.
Yeah.
You give them any more than that, it's too much. Because
course.
in fairness, neither one of them, going back to Nikita's days with Uncle Ivan, Nikita wasn't the main promo. It was Ivan Koloff out there cutting those gems. So, yeah.
But I don't care how long it is. I just care if it was good, and I thought they were good there. So good for them. Way to be good. I feel like Tony Khan saying great.
Well, before we go to the next match, Jim Ross and Bill Watts talk about needing to get a tux because of all the dignitaries that are going to be at the Clash this Wednesday night. And Watts also announces that Jake was fined $25,000 for what happened at the Omni, and Cactus was fined $5,000. And then he pulls out an old Mid-South thing for you Mid-South folks out there. He says, if you're on commentary and leave the commentary table, you will be fined. I heard that hundreds of times in Mid-South during the years.
But he didn't find Sting because Sting's the babyface. Get the fuck out of here.
Then he tells a lie and says, I want to hear from you, the fans, about the top rope rule. And we're going to definitely take this into consideration if the fans want the rule gone. And he says they're going to reveal the poll results that they're taking at the Clash or something like that. Something about the poll they're going to do. They'll show the results. And I can't remember. I haven't watched this Clash in a long time, so I can't remember if they make a decision at the Clash or not. But he propositions it like that. So, yeah. Doc, any thoughts before we go to the next match on Bill Watts right there?
Just making up rules left and right, realizing that his dumbass rule about the top row is stupid. Sting doesn't get fined, but everybody else gets fined because fining people is his only reason to exist.
Arn Anderson said that. So something to that effect. You're just fining people because you can. Oh, man. I've listened to June and July, I think it is. I need to go listen to, July and August from Arn. I need to go back and listen to September, see what else he says about this time period. But anyway, Doc, you asked about Jimmy Garvin last week, and I thought he was just about done, but it's got to be wrapping up now because our next match is Barbarian and Jimmy Garvin. And Jimmy Garvin, while he's not standing in the ring as the enhancement talent normally do,
he might as well be.
You could see the look on his face. He knows this is the end of this here. And he's in there with Barbarian, which means Barbarian's going to beat him up pretty quickly. Doc, any thoughts on this match? It went less than 2 minutes.
Squash.
I mean, Garvin does get a couple of arm bars in and a boot to the face, as we just saw here. But, I mean, he's obviously out there.
Isn't Jimmy Garvin to a level in his career where he shouldn't lose in 2 minutes to anybody?
I mean, we say that, but that's not uncommon for a guy to, once they've been over for a while, to, I mean, unless they reach superstar status, I mean, it happens. I feel bad for him, but we know now it's cost cutting thing. So,
what's the fastest you ever got beat?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, there's not really like enhancement talent. I can't say that because I mean I have seen guys go out there and just get squashed.
There is Danny Flamingo, so.
I don't know, man. I may have like, well, I know I did this. I put a mask on before and went out there, and if you want to count that, yeah, I mean under a minute.
Straight to the map, bro.
Hey, look, bruh, you get paid the same.
Okay.
You want me to look up at the lights? Sure thing, Chief. Ain't no problem with that.
Okay.
Barbarian wins the big boot to Garvin. Garvin sold the hell out of it. I mean, it really did look good. 1, 2, 3, and that's that. Any closing thoughts, Doc, on? I don't know if that's his last match, but we're getting near the end. It's got to be getting close. Because we've seen him do some jobs now, right? I mean, this isn't new.
Fair.
Let's go now to Jim Ross. He's going to throw the Cactus Jack interviewing Jake Roberts. And here it is.
Everyone at WCW Saturday Night, Jim Ross back with you. As we have been seeing the last few weeks, Tony Schiavone's been doing some terrific in-depth interviews. This week he was scheduled to talk to Jake the Snake Roberts, but Jake the Snake refused to talk to Tony. He wanted the interview conducted by Cactus Jack, and here's how that unique conversation went.
This is Cactus Jack for WCW, introducing a man who needs no introduction, but will get one from me anyhow. Jake the Snake Roberts, welcome to my little session here. I want to talk to you about a number of subjects. One of them, a man who's on everyone's minds here in World Championship Wrestling, the Stinger. Seems that just recently the two of you had a meeting, and one of you came out a little bit the worse for wear. Would you like to explain why?
Well, I've never liked Baltimore, and I've never liked Sting. You know that. Yeah. But I'll tell you something, Sting. It's not personal. You're the marquee player in WCW. That's what it's all about. When I came in, I was not under contract. No dues to be paid. All I'm saying was, I got to step up here and do something I feel like will reach out and grab everybody right by the throat and strangle them right down. That's what I've done. Simple.
In other words, when it comes to Sting, you don't really need a reason, just an opportunity. The way I see it, now let's talk about another man, a man who's captured a lot of imaginations along the way to becoming the new world heavyweight champion, Ron Simmons. Where do you see yourself in relation to the champion, Ron Simmons?
Everybody deserves a little. Ron Simmons, you deserve a lot. The athlete that you are, the man that you claim to be, or the man that you really are. That's what I want to know. Because you see, Ron Simmons, to achieve a goal is very simple. Every dog has a day, right? Every dog has a day. But to hold on, to keep it, that's the real test. And someday, you will be elected to be tested.
If you don't mind me asking, let's go on to a personal subject, one that's very dear to my pea-sized heart, and that's Dustin Rhodes, a young upstart, a coming superstar, the son, I hear, legend of, the legend in professional wrestling, Dusty Rhodes. He wrestled, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't he? What do you got in store for his little boy?
Let me tell you something about the American dream. No doubt in anybody's mind, probably the most exciting man to ever step inside the ring up until I stepped inside that ring. But you, Dustin Rhodes, what part of the loin did you come from? Are you truly a chip off the old block or just a poor imitation? It was not my fault. It was not my intention to injure him. But my gosh, I'm walking down the aisle at the Omni. This guy takes his head and runs it right into my chest. Now, I don't care who you are, how tough you are, but you stick your nose into my chest, then I've got to remove it. And that's simply all I done. I didn't really abuse the kid. I mean, abusing children is not something I do, and he is a child, believe me, when it comes to a men's game like this. So Dustin Rhodes, do yourself a favor, go back home and sit on Daddy's knee and keep away from people like Cactus Jack and myself.
That's correct. That's a very good point, Jake. I like the way you're starting to sound. Let me ask you about another subject. What about Big Van Vader, the man who took Sting's crown? Where do you see his future in WCW?
I don't know what it is about things that I shouldn't do, but it just seems like ever since I was a child, the things that I shouldn't do were always the most fun. Big Vader, there will be a time that I'll have to test you also. Because you see, if you're going to rule the roost, you got to not only knock on the left door and the right door, you have to knock on the middle door. You have to check the windows. You have to go down back. You got to do it all. Now, I'll tell you something else about Sting. Let's get back to him. I mean, Vader was the man that, well, dethroned the champion. But how did Sting? Where did it start with you? I mean, did it start with my little bird dog here? Huh? You are my little doggy, aren't you?
Do you have a position for a good hunting dog there, Jake?
Oh, brother, do we have a position for you? Look at you right now, all dressed up, man, doing this segment now. We don't need no Tony Schiavone. We got you out here. You're the superstar. But you're my good dog, man. Every dog needs an owner like me. And we're going to do what it takes. If it started at the box, it started at the box. Remember that, Sting?
I remember boxes, Jake.
Well, remember this, Sting. We're still here.
For WCW, this has been Cactus Jack. Bang, bang.
That was I feel like they're building Jake up here because he called out everybody. Ron Simmons, Dustin Rhodes. Well, him and Dustin got into it at the Omni. Vader. Like, he's calling out everybody. He's calling out really the three heavy hitters. Dustin is just under those guys. What are your thoughts?
Look at 1710. He's sitting there talking. There's just a trickle of sweat rolling down his cheek. Ugh. What do you think?
What do you think that sweat bead smells like?
Let's analyze that at the lab. Jeez.
It's
what
a
do you?
Science experiment.
Just all of a sudden, the alarms start going off all over the lab. What do you think Cactus's socks smell like there?
Oh my God! I was laughing the whole time thinking about him. He's sitting there. I don't know if he's got a singlet on or it's like I can't tell what he's really wearing, but it's definitely wrestling gear. And he's just sitting there. He's got a sock on, and his foot is up on the chair in front of him. That sock smells, man. I don't know what it smells like, but it smells.
I like that Jake put over Ron. It was weird that he used JYD's line, but I thought that was game recognizing game. I didn't understand why he's like going after Vader since Vader doesn't have the title. And when he said, "What part of the loin did you come from?" about Dustin, I popped.
Maybe you should go home and sit on Daddy's lap. Yeah, that was good. I took this as, Jake hasn't been here long now. He's, a few weeks. And Jake's a star. I mean, if we put the problems aside, he's a star. And he just called out all the heavy hitters. Ron, Vader. I mean, he's already at Sting's throat. But that's how I took it. It's just like, I think you look at a promo like this and, let's say there ever is a feud between Vader and Ron Simmons and whatnot. Just think if you don't know what's coming at all in the next few months. I think it just, it's one of those things that you look back to and you're like, hey, Jim Ross is on commentary. He's like, we kind of got a hint of this. I mean, remember when he mentioned Vader when he was talking to Cactus? Like, those are things the commentator can reference later on down the line so that it doesn't seem like it was just came out of nowhere. So that's what I think is smart about the way you do a promo like that. He didn't say anything earth-shattering, but he calls out the heavy hitters so that you never know. Something happens down the line and yeah, it makes sense. It's not just thrown out there.
You know
it's not
how much of a shame it is that Jake was a complete disaster as a human?
Yes. From a wrestling business perspective, it's terrible. Because there's so much talent. So much talent.
Like, we may need to consider, like, the all-time... Like, we've talked about people that threw it all away, and Buddy Landell always comes up. But I don't know that Jake's ceiling to what he realized isn't a bigger miss because of the potential that he had to be just... He feels evil. And maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe that's it. It's so real that it's real, and you can't turn that off. I get it.
Jake is phenomenal. The promos, like, there's nothing. He doesn't. When Jake's on his game, he doesn't waste any time in the ring. He moves literally kind of like a snake, but he moves so, it's not slow, it's methodical. And he's always in the right place at the right time. And then his promos are just exceptional. It's like he was so damn good. And to think he was messed up for so much of that time. Yeah, he's a miss. Like, we think of Buddy, but Jake is probably more of a miss, like threw it all away. Because I feel like Jake had the talent to be at the very top for a while, but his demons didn't allow that. Whereas I don't know, I mean, they say Buddy was in line for a title shot, but I think Jake would have been better than Buddy, as we say that. Does that make sense?
Right. That's what I'm saying is that Buddy was a colossal waste of talent based on his problems, but I think Jake's ceiling is like, could he be Mount Rushmore-ish? Buddy would have been a hellified wrestler.
I don't know if he's Mount Rushmore, but that's another discussion. But I do think Jake's ceiling was higher than Buddy's, even though Buddy did throw it away too. But yeah, I'm with you. Okay. All right, so we come out of the interview and we do see a clip from 1984 with Gordon Solie on commentary and Ole Anderson and Jake on TBS. So I thought that was pretty cool how they, we got this thing going on now where we're celebrating all these years on TBS. So that's the first clip of, I think, few that we'll see coming up in the next few weeks. I can't remember, to be honest with you. Any closing thoughts on Jake right there before we continue?
Good stuff.
Let's go down to Steve Austin and Paulie Dangerously. Paulie is not happy right now. Here it is.
This Wednesday night, the Clash of the Champions, Stunning Steve Austin will defend the World Television title against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in a match with no disqualifications with a 20-minute time limit. And Paul E. Dangerously will be suspended in this cage during that confrontation. I know you've got some thoughts about that.
Back when Cow Pie Bill Watts was a big shot in the 1970s, this is how you humiliated a manager. You'd put him in a cage and you'd embarrass him. But this is national TV. And on national TV this Wednesday night, you're gonna treat me like a freaking animal! You wanna take me and put me in a cage like I'm some animal and humiliate me on national TV? Steve, please don't let them do this to me!
Well, Steamboat, that's just fine, because if you're gonna resort to these tactics, Paul Lee and I myself have had our heads together for quite some time, and we have a game plan that's going to blow your mind this Wednesday night.
Fans, that confrontation Wednesday night live in prime time. Let's go back up to Rhubarb.
I thought Paulie was good right there. That it's inhumane. You're going to cage me like an animal. He's crying. He's upset. What are your thoughts?
I thought it was weird because I thought, first of all, Paul Heyman looked chubby. But,
yeah, he does look chubby here.
I showed this to the little girl last night because she was sitting on the couch next to me while I was watching. She goes, I go, do you know who that is? She goes, no. I go, that's Stone Cold. And she goes, no. I go, well, do you know who that is in the back? And she goes, that's Paul Heyman. And I was like, all right. I got to make sure they get their 3 R's, 4 R's, reading, wrestling, writing, and arithmetic.
All of the decade. I hear you.
Anyway, I thought it was weird because Paulie ends with Steve, you gotta help me, and Steve didn't tie it together in the all right, Paulie, it's gonna be all right or something. He just turned and started talking to Steamboat, so it was kind of weird there. I don't know if it was just jumpy or what, but I don't know.
I don't think they had enough time. I think that was part of it.
Okay.
I don't know if, because you don't know. I'm like, are they being told? Because, I mean, that was only a little over a minute, and I think they might have went a little over. So, yeah, I think that might have been it. But we got some stuff we got to talk about here in this next match. I thought it was fine. I thought Paul was great. And you're right, Austin didn't really say much. The next match on the show is Ricky Steamboat versus Tom Zink. And Paul Lee is on commentary with Jim Ross for this match. And Paul Lee says, why am I being put in a cage like an animal? And JR says, because you interfere all the time over and over, which is a good point. During the match, Doc, they cut to the crowd and they show Eric Watts, Bill Watts' son.
Yeah.
He's got the personality of Z-Man.
The former quarterback of the University of Louisville.
Correct. I'll have more to say in the coming weeks and months. He's got the personality of Z-Man, and that's all I want to say right now, so stay tuned.
Maybe we should tag him up.
Oh, God. The Insomnia Express. I mean, Jesus, what are we looking for here?
The sleep number connection.
Yeah, the sleep number connection.
You know, what are we doing here?
What we're doing here is we only have 35 minutes to fill, so we're just like throwing shit up against the wall. See, here's what you got to remember too. They have a clash coming up, so they kind of got to make everything in this first half almost neutral, because they got a second half that they're going to do that's going to air after the clash. And I haven't watched that episode in quite some time, so I couldn't tell you exactly what's going to happen. But I feel like you're just kind of like running the ball out in the fourth quarter here, because you know you got that clash coming up in a couple of nights. So you really can't do too much. And that's what this match felt like. You can't do too much because it's the Sleep Monster versus Steamboat. And I don't know what we're doing other than what I just explained. What do you think?
I was surprised by this. I don't understand the need to. Did we not have everybody here tonight so that we had to send Z-Man out to eat this pin that fast, or what's going on?
I mean, why does it surprise you? Z-Man eats pins nonstop. Z-Man has done jobs to Rude. He's done jobs to Vader. Like, we've squashed him numerous times. That's why I never can take him serious. So, like, I mean, him going out there and jobbing the Steamboat, whatever.
Okay.
I
don't get
think
it.
Nothing. Look, I'm not saying it's great booking or anything, but it's not a surprise because we've seen it happen to him before. Well, Steamboat's going to hit the perfect plex for the win, and he beats Z-Man, and they shake hands after, Code of Honor type Ring of Honor stuff. And it got the old zzz for me because that's kind of how I felt after I watched this. Any thoughts, Doc? There's nothing happening, man, you know?
Well, and Steamboat's not going to have a great, like, awesome match I care about against a babyface because he doesn't have to fire up and be awesome.
Excellent point. Let us continue. Earlier, Watts was talking about Brad Armstrong in the light heavyweight title. So now we're going to go to Brad, who's out there on one crutch with his title, and let's see what Brad has to say.
Wrestling fans, this Wednesday night, live in prime time here on TBS at the Clash of the Champions, Brad Armstrong, the light heavyweight champion, is scheduled to defend the title against the former champion Flying Brian Pillman. Cowboy Bill Watts made the announcement the early part of the program that if you were unable to wrestle this Wednesday, after more than 5 weeks, they would have to declare the title vacant. I know that's the last thing that you want to hear or to see happen, but you got to admit it is fair.
Yes, sir, Jim Ross. The promotion here, WCW, has been more than fair to me in giving me this time to recuperate. I do have a bad wheel. I blew a ligament out in my knee, and since then I've been trying really hard, and I'm going to do everything in my power, whether it be physical or whether it be emotional, to be there at the Clash of Champions. You know, Jim, it means a heck of a lot for me because it's a 20-year anniversary right here on TBS. It's the 20th year, and I grew up watching TBS wrestling every Saturday, brother. I watched my father. My dad came home and put food on our table. I watched him wrestle every Saturday, and to put this title on the line against this man right here.
I'm sorry for the interruption, Brad. I'm just here to say as challenger, there's no doubt in my mind you're going to answer the challenge and be there at the Clash of the Champions, putting the gold on the line. And I don't know if the people at home realize this or not. One of the reasons I haven't got a title shot up until now is because Brad has been a true world champion. He's taken on all the great athletes in the world light heavyweight division. He's had a successful title reign in Japan. And I know, Brad, whether you're 100% or not, knowing how tough you are, the competitor you are, the gutsy performer, I'm going to have my hands full in my attempt to regain the world light heavyweight title. And I just want to shake your hand now, and I look forward to a great contest. I know the fans out there do too. It's
all right.
Exciting.
Thanks, Brian, very much. Well, Brad, there you hear from your opponent.
Yes, sir. You know, I got to say, I got to respect a man that come out here and shake my hand. And I tell you what, I've faced the man before in the square circle. I know it's going to be no cakewalk. But I promise you this, not only is it for a world title on live TV, but it's my chance to uphold something that's a family tradition. It's kicking tail on WTBS, and I'll be proud to do it.
All right, Brad, best of luck to you. We hope to see you Wednesday night. Let's go back up to Rhubarb Jones.
All right, so it's pretty meat and potatoes, but it's something we had to review and cover because of what's going to happen at the Clash. So, Doc, any thoughts on what we witnessed right there? And I don't think you've watched the Clash yet, so.
I have not. I will, obviously. Two of the three of us will have the Clash watched by the time we review it. I thought Brad Armstrong was good there. He was natural when talking about, he could get out there and, go fishing and drink some beers and get in your truck. And I'm darn sure going to do that shit, that kind of thing. I don't understand why Pillman needed to come out. I expected Pillman to jump him.
Well, stay tuned.
Oh, I don't know what happened. So I was just guessing. I expected him to come from behind and hit him. He's got that crutch there and just whoop his ass. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. I literally do not know. So I'm not trying to be a dick here.
Stay tuned.
Okay. I'm here.
Stay tuned.
I'll be back. I'll be back next time.
So we go from that. It was meat and potatoes, but it is essential to think about that as we go into the Clash. So
Brad's not out there cutting Stone Cold promos, but he was not bad whatsoever right there.
No, he wasn't. We continue along, and the last match, not the last match, but the next match is Vader versus Scott Allen, and Vader punishes this poor bastard and beats his ass. There was a lariat in there. There was some blows. There's another one.
Can you give me 26:39?
Well, that's coming up after the one we just saw. We're at 26:33. What are we looking for here?
Destruction. Look at that. No, but look at that. That big fat bastard got up and did a frog. What is it? A
sunset flip?
Yeah.
I mean, to call him. Big Leon was a athlete though, man. That wasn't that bad. I mean, that's.
Well, then he got choke slammed, and then he does two, like, what do you call them? The splashes from the second rope, and then he power bombed him. He had to make sure that he was, down.
He got a couple of lariats in that were devastating. The sunset flip wasn't much. The splash, that doesn't hurt. But when he folds these suckers over with the power bombs, man, that's the vicious stuff. We're going to see it in a second on the video version. tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. Because he's gonna hit this power bomb, and his power bomb is always very, very effective. Picks him up at the 2 count. Here it comes. But would you say Vader beat the hell out of this guy?
That dude was in peril from the get-go, and it never got better.
There it is. It just spikes him on a power bomb. 1, 2, 3. Vader wins. Any other thoughts, Doc?
Vader's a whole thing, brother.
Yeah, he is. What do you think of Scraps' Teddy Long's look right here? With the do-rag with the yellow around.
What does the do-rag do for you if you're bald?
If you're bald, it's just a fashion statement.
Okay.
I mean, it's because if you don't have any hair, it's not doing anything.
Well, I'm neither bald nor wear do-rags, so I was just wondering.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's go now to Teddy does a little talking about doing community outreach and whatnot, and then he's going to bring in his former, he managed him as a tag team. He brings in Ron Simmons. Let's see what Ron's got to say when he comes in. Here that is.
Good to see you, Ron. Keep the good works up, brother, and keep getting banked. All right.
Ron, big week for you. Live primetime television to defend the title.
Yes, it is. Ever since I've gotten this belt, Jim, that's the way it's been. My hands have been full with the former champion. That was a policy to give them a rematch, Big Van Vader. But every time I go in those Coliseum and see the people doing that tomahawk chop, that adrenaline starts flowing through me, man, I can't tell you. And that's what'll keep this belt around me. And September the 2nd, once again, I have to defend it. And when they come out and I see them start this, Cactus Jack, you'd better be ready.
All right, Ron, well, I'll tell you something. One man that certainly wants the opportunity because he's the #1 contender, Ravishing Rick Rude, is on deck. I want you to stay with us and provide some commentary for this matchup. Let's go back up to Rhubarb Jones.
All right, so we're gonna hear from Rude in a second. What are your thoughts right there on Simmons first? It was pretty meat and potatoes, but just thought I'd get your thoughts.
Yeah, he's meat and potatoes, but we've liked it so far, so okay. And now this is going to pick up a little bit. And look at Medusa. She's looking good tonight. Deucey.
Tonight?
Be better tonight. Deucey, bro.
Deucey, can you go get me a mineral water?
A mineral water.
All right, let's go now. We got Rude out there with Medusa. Rude is grabbing the microphone from JR. He's got something to say to Simmons now. Here that is.
Well. Aren't you looking sharp, Mr. Simmons? In your nice fancy suit with your new shiny belt? The new world champion is the toast of the world. Enjoy it while it lasts, Simmons, because the contract has already been signed. The world heavyweight champion, don't you laugh at me. The world heavyweight champion must defend against the #1 contender, which just happens to be me. So it's all gonna go down just like I said. Don't touch me. I will make your reign as heavyweight champion the shortest of all time. Now just stand here and pay attention, and I'll give you a brief preview of what you can expect out of me if you get by Cactus Jack.
All right. Ravishing Rick Rude. Ron, I know you got something to say about that. Let's go back to the rhubarb. We don't have a lot of time to get this one underway.
So we got to heat things up with these two because, they're going to be, or Simmons will be putting a belt on the line. Doc, any thoughts on Rude right there? I don't think that was Rude's best, as I asked you that.
No, but God almighty, would you like to see these two bastards tied on in the ring?
Yeah, stay tuned.
Oh, really?
Stay tuned. Yeah. Stay tuned.
Here's the thing. I don't know what happens because, again, I don't know things here. And I was firmly expecting in my mind, Vader to take the belt back. So I don't know if that's wrong. You don't have to say anything. I'm just telling you, I haven't watched this and I haven't read much about it. And I don't know. So I'm kind of watching so that I'm kind of staying unknown because it's better to watch that way if I can. And so I don't know what's going to happen. But, man, I'm excited about that prospect. I was also a little concerned that Rick Rude would get out there and realize him and Ron were toe-to-toe and Rick would get a little tense and make a black joke. But I'm glad that he didn't. Because it doesn't need – that would be cheap heat. You don't need to do that here.
Nah, you don't. There's times
these two bastards are two tough sons of bitches that you don't need that.
Yeah. No, you don't. It was short.
Only real amateurs like Harper use race as some kind of sick joke.
Actually, that would be you, but
what?
We're gonna leave that alone. That's your flip and dive area. If we're being realistic
they're called
here,
high spots, sir.
Flipping and diving. You're like a young buck with that stuff. You can't help yourself. You didn't like that. All right. Well, we did just watch Rick Rude versus Chris Sullivan, and Ron Simmons is with JR on commentary. He says, yeah, Rude is the #1 contender, and it won't get done right here, but we will do this. I give him an A+ on running his mouth, says Simmons, but it takes more than that to beat me. And Rude makes quick work of Sullivan, hits a spike pile driver, followed by the Rude Awakening for the win. Very quick match. Very, very quick, like most of them this week. Did you have any thoughts on Rude and Sullivan?
It was too quick to rate.
You can't rate it. They talked to Ron Simmons, Jim Ross talks to Ron Simmons for a little while before they go off air. Ron talks about facing Cactus at the Clash on Wednesday night, which, again, you can hear us review on Patreon at tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. Great way to support the show and whatnot. Doc, from there, that's how they go off air on that last final promo. Did you have any thoughts on Ron closing it out there leading up into the Clash?
He the champ.
Sure is. So we're going to rate it and hand out the Toot Toot Award. Before, I just told you how to become a patron at tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. So let's rate this thing. Doc, this is a very weird episode because it is so short. One of the shortest we've done in the history of the show in terms of the amount of runtime that we have. I can remember a couple like this in the 80s at Techwood and, where we had some really, really short episodes like this. But this is pushing the limit, 35 minutes. So under 36 minutes of runtime, very short. Hard to rate if you ask me, but what are you going to rate it?
We joke a lot about short shows and how that's good. This is almost too short. It was tough to get into that way, but it wasn't bad. It was just everything felt rushed. I don't know. I'm going to say a B.
Yeah, I actually think that is very fair to give this a B. I'm in agreement with you. I think this should get a B as well. So I'm going to go same thing. The hard part is the Toot Toot Award, kind of, but I also have a
let's call it
candidate.
the giving somebody their flowers award.
No, that's not happening. I'm not doing flowers. No. Doc, why are you triggering me? It was like when I told Harper atheists don't celebrate Christmas. He's like, no, fuck, they don't. Oh, you just triggered me. He got triggered.
He got it. Yeah, that was awesome.
He said, I just pissed myself off.
I'm gonna give my flowers.
Oh God.
I would tell you, man, I'm gonna give it to Nikita. I thought he was good tonight.
Wait. We agreed several shows ago that if you give out flowers, that's like the reverse Toot Toot.
Oh, then I'm going to give my Toot Toot Award to Nikita.
Okay. So I'm going to give my Toot Toot to Jake again.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. I just can't. I would have not thought of it before this show tonight until you said it. But when you told me, is Jake like, I don't know, even remember the question now, but you were like, did he have the highest ceiling for somebody who just ruined it? And I can't off the top of my head think of anybody else.
Well, if you can think of somebody else, make sure that you get those emails into Mike and let him know so that we can talk.
Not do that.
We recorded tonight so that you could clear your calendar for tomorrow to respond to listener emails. So
I got Half Pint bugging me. He's been bugging me for over a month. I like, when are we gonna do the NFL wrap up show? I'm ready to go anytime. Just gotta tell me.
The NFL is wrapped up, little fella. Mike's team didn't make it. My team got there and then shat themselves. And you're looking for a coach. There's your NFL wrap up.
and then, we did the Cowboy debacle with you, me, you, and Harper, and I posted it in the Facebook group, and he's like, "You asshole! You should have included me." We represent. All right, I'm having too much fun, Doc. Anything else before we get out of here tonight? This was a fun episode, even if it was a short one.
We always have fun doing this. That's the thing. And hey, if we didn't have fun doing it, we wouldn't keep doing it. And we hope you had fun listening as well. The next thing on the calendar will be to hit the Clash, so the patrons will get that in the sequence that it belongs. If you're not a patron, then we'll see you at the next Saturday night. I don't know. I guess, it's time to go. If we have to, hang it up and go hang out with our families.
God, that sounds depressing.
Why?
I'm just kidding. This episode should go, or the Clash that is yet to be recorded should air a day after this airs. So become a patron to get that. tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. The plan, like Doc said, is to have Harper there. So it'll be a lot of fun. It is the 20th Clash. Can you believe we've done 20 of these already, Doc? Or 19. Going to do 20. Amazing.
It's flying.
We're stacking shows, dude.
Hey,
we're not far from year 9.
I don't know. Mother Nature and Father Time you can't put the strap on that tag team because you can't ever get it off of them.
We're almost 90% to a decade of this shit.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. Well, Doc, on that note, if you don't have anything else, let's hit the tagline and let's roll.
Book it.